Orlando, Florida. You're now listening to the OZone Podcast, the voice of Orlando Magic fans. Join us every week for a unique fan perspective on all of the latest Magic news and updates. The show starts now.
What's up, Magic fans, and welcome back to another episode of the OZone Podcast, brought to you by DraftKings and part of the Basketball Podcast Network. We're your hosts, myself, Anthony, Al, and today is May 17th, and we are exactly 36 days away from the NBA lottery. What's up, Al?
What's going on, man? Who's counting though? I don't think we want to get to that point yet.
Yeah, nah. Let's get to it right now. I'm ready to count down. 36 days already feels like way too long for my anxiety.
I'm the same way, man. I know the season just ended yesterday, but we want answers. We want to know how this is going to play out. Who are we going to be able to target in the draft? And hopefully it'll be good news. I'm not going to be, Debbie Downer here. We're going to get Cade. We're going to get Jalen Green. That's the way it's going to go. I'm just going to be positive.
Man, that's what I'm talking about, Al. I like the fact that you're being optimistic because as a longtime Magic fan, I have gracefully learned that not to keep my hopes up. Expect the worst, prepare for the worst.
Yeah, but remember, the Magic won 21 games this year, and I forgot who it was that tweeted this yesterday, but the previous two times the Magic have won 21 games, we've drafted Dwight Howard and we drafted Shaq. So, I'm just going to go ahead and say this is the year that things feel good, and I hope things play out for us. So I'm going to remain positive. I mean, that's all we have right now, hope.
Did you just pull Is This Anything out of nowhere? You did a little research. How you keep prepared today, man? I like it.
You know what's funny? I saw that on Twitter in the afternoon, but then I did see.
You're giving away your credit, Al.
I am. I got to be honest. Again, if we want to be win the lottery, we got to have dignity here in the show. That's the way it goes. But now, man, I saw it on the broadcast, but I did see it on Twitter as well. But now, man, I think I feel good about this year. We'll talk about plenty here about the tank update and how things played out for us. But I really hope this is the year that we have good fortunes in the lottery.
Yeah, man. If you guys were looking for a brand new episode to come out Friday morning, we decided not to record and kind of wait out until the season was finally over. That way we can kind of recap the end of the season and then really kind of have a full idea of exactly where we ended up falling in. So today's episode, we're gonna do some recap of that. We're gonna talk about our standings. And man, we got a lot to talk about, so we're gonna just jump right into it. Al, please do us the honor and update us on our tank watch. Where are we at?
Man, so the previous week, our last episode, things were not looking too great. The Magic had dropped in the standings, so I guess you can say it that way. We were tied with OKC. The reverse standings. Yes, the reverse standings. We were tied with OKC, with Cleveland. We had just lost to Detroit. So I think things were not looking very well for the Magic. But hey, we ended up losing the last 7 games of the season, which is what we needed to do. And thank you very much to the Clippers. The Clippers did us a huge, huge favor. And I tweeted this yesterday. I was going to root for the Clippers this playoffs if they were able to lose against OKC last night, which they did. So thanks to that, the Magic ended up with the 3rd worst record in the NBA. No ties, no need to be flipping coins. We're going to go into the 2020 NBA draft tied with Houston and Detroit for the best odds for the first pick in the draft.
Not a bad year to do it. Not a bad year. If you're going to tank, this is the year to tank. My goodness. I can't. So we'll get into details in a few minutes, but I just want to say, for those that were upset that we had won that one game with Cole Anthony's game winner, all for nothing. Stress is gone. All right. Magic have the worst, the bottom 3, which is, I guess in our eyes, the top 3 best lottery odds for this NBA draft. And the fact that we weren't tied with OKC is massive. I cannot believe, especially, I'll be honest with you, before the game when we noticed that, Philadelphia wasn't playing any of their starters, none of their starters, I was kind of, my optimism was at a low because I'm just like, who's going to lead that charge? Dwight Howard? George Hill, who's going to lead that charge? You know what I mean? I honestly thought that we're going to end up winning that game, and the fact that we didn't, the fact that OKC somehow, some way, they decided to put it in gear and win. I am so shocked, and I am so excited that we're at that third spot. And man, things are looking up.
Yeah, so I mean, if you didn't watch the OKC game and you didn't know the background to that game, so the Clippers wanted to lose because they didn't want to play the Lakers in the playoffs until the Western Conference Finals.
So
they had no incentive to win at all. OKC had no incentive to win because they didn't want to drop in the standings, I guess, and not be tied with the Magic. So that game was just a crazy show throughout. And it came down to the final minute of the game with just OKC hit a couple shots and the Clippers were like, hey, we forgot to shoot. And we're just going to lose this game. So it was hilarious. I watched the final quarter and it was the most stressful quarter I've watched of basketball since Magic playoff basketball. Like, it was just, I was sweating. I'm like, we needed the Clippers to lose this game. And it happened. So thank you to the Clippers once again, and go Clippers, go win a ring.
I see you, Doc. Doc Rivers still doing the Magic favors.
That's right.
So not Doc Rivers, but the shadow of Doc Rivers. Well, Tyronn Lue, thank you for doing the Magic some favors.
Indirectly, right? So Doc Rivers won yesterday against the Magic, and then indirectly the Clippers won, which was his previous team. So yeah, there's some blueprints in there from Doc Rivers.
Yeah, it definitely worked out. So, I mean, it's exciting because so the Magic have, again, that we discussed, they're at the third, but what's really the one that we want to keep an eye on now, because we can't do anything about that until 36 days from now. But on May 25th is where they announced that we're going to do the coin toss, a coin flip, to find out what the tiebreaker is going to be with Chicago. So if you don't know the way or how that works, the Pelicans, the Kings, and then Chicago, 3-way tie for that 8th, 9th, and 10th. And they're going to do a coin flip to see who lands where. So Al, you and I had a conversation about it. And, I was telling you that I really hope we get that 8. And your response was, we can't get greedy. Right? We don't want to get too lucky. Because it might be my silly thinking, but in my thought process is, let's say that we end up winning the coin flip and we get the eighth best chances, right? Does that exhaust all of our draft luck? Does that take away from maybe the possibility of, getting that number 1, number 2 spot? Or is that just me thinking?
I think that would just be too good to be true. And I mean, again, maybe this is the year that everything kind of falls into place, right? Because think about it. When we entered this year, we knew this draft was going to be loaded. And we all knew there's no way we're going to have a chance with Vooch and Gordon and Fournier and the team that we had. And things played out that we are actually in the top. We have a shot at these guys now. So with the Bulls pick, all I'm saying is I don't want to be greedy. Wherever it lands, as long as the Magic get that pick, I'm happy. And you know what? I've even said this on Twitter. I wouldn't mind if we even lose that pick, as long as we get a top 2 pick. Give me one of those 2 top players that, again, I've said many times in this podcast, Cade or Jalen Green. As long as we have one of those 2 guys, I'm okay with waiting 1 more year to get that Bulls pick. I don't mind. But ideally, we get it this season. I just don't care if it's 8, 9, or 10th. Just give me that pick some way, somehow.
Yeah, I mind. I'm way too impatient for any of that. This is such a good draft that, hopefully it all lands right. Obviously, we want to be in that top 3. But man, Bulls gonna stay out of that top 4 completely. And what's crazy is that they still have a 20.3% chance of making it in that top 4. Very, very unlikely. Knock on wood. If I just jinx it, I'm sorry in advance. But there's still a lot of quality players 6 through 10. So it definitely needs to happen because it's rebuilding, man. You want to stockpile on your assets, and this is the way to do it, through the draft.
I completely agree. And one thing I also want to mention here is Chad Ford tweeted this yesterday, and it's just kind of impressive. But with the way things played out in the tanking job that all these teams did, the Magic ended up with a pretty good outcome here. So currently, Detroit has an 80% chance pretty much to end up with a top 5 pick. But right behind them are the Orlando Magic at 66.9%. So our odds of getting a top 5 pick are going to be 67% heading into the draft, which is huge. It's massive. Then right behind that, believe it or not, is Houston at 52.1, a team that tanked the entire season. It felt like we have a better chance than they do to get a top 5 pick. That
So
to
do
me
you
was
do you know the
crazy.
science behind that? Why would we have a better shot at making the top 5 than Houston?
So if you notice,
Out of
the
curiosity.
NBA. So yeah, of course, you have a better chance to get the first pick. Well, actually tied, right? All of us, but they don't want teams, I guess, to just blatantly tank anymore. And if you notice, whoever ends up with the worst record, in this case, Houston, has a bigger chance to drop than actually winning the lottery, which is crazy. And I have that number here. I'm trying to pull it up real quick. So I'm thinking that's the NBA's way of just saying you're not going to tank and just going to manipulate the system. So Houston has a 47% chance of getting the 5th pick this year's draft, but only 14% of getting the first. So they're actually more likely to fall than to actually keep that number 1 pick, which is crazy to me. But again, just Orlando being higher than them shocked me when I read that.
Yeah, man, it's tough because the way that Houston kind of carried everything out and the way that OKC did, we may be biased, but I thought that the Magic went about it the right way, where you have teams like OKC that were really taking advantage of the system and desperately try to do everything within their power. Houston tried to do everything within their power. And out of the 3, I would say that we were probably the most honest one out of the 3. But yeah, it's good to see that, we have a higher chance over Houston. And what's interesting is that on tankathon.com, they have the draft power rankings of kind of, it's a calculation of which teams have the best draft assets. And the Magic are listed as the number 1 currently. All right, with the expectations of having, if it lands as is, which it won't, but if it were to land as is with the 3rd, the 10th, and the 33rd pick. So it's going to be interesting to see how everything kind of plays out.
Yeah, I mean, think about that 2nd round pick at 33. That pretty much is a low end 1st round pick to many teams. And you may have a lot of top teams like the Lakers, the Warriors, gunning and trying to trade for that pick, because again, you can get some really good talent still at that level in the draft. So again, if the Magic want to get creative and pull off some trades on the draft, we'll have plenty of chances, whether it's the Bulls pick or it's the 2nd round pick. So that's, again, we have plenty of tools in our arsenal here heading into the draft.
Yeah, and just to kind of put it into perspective, that 33rd pick was also the same pick that we drafted Wesley Iwundu back in 2017. So there's a golden nugget.
Yeah, that's impressive. See, this research today, man, I'm telling you.
Yeah, that was a quick check. All right, man, but let's get into our season review. So this season has been wild, man, because we started off so hot, so red fire. If you were to tell me that, this was going to be the outcome of our season, I truthfully wouldn't have believed you. If you would have took a picture of, the players that are on our roster and you would have showed it to me in the beginning of the season, I would have told you that there's no way. How? Oh, is that RJ Hampton? Is that Wendell Carter? What? How? So crazy year. But in general, seeing the ups and downs, the injuries that we face, what would you grade the Magic this season? If you were to give it a classic ABCDF grade, what would you stamp on this season's report card?
Man, so I'm torn, right? Because if I think about it from my expectations at the beginning of the season, right, I would have expected us to at least make the play-in tournament. That's just being real. Like, I really thought this team had enough firepower to at least make it to the play-in tournament at the very least. So if I think about it that way, I would say, of course, F. We ended up bottom 3. But from a fan perspective, from a guy that for years has been saying, let's move on from AG, let's move on from Gordon, let's get this rebuild started, right? From that perspective, I got to give this team at least a B+. So if I had to meet somewhere in the middle, I would call it a C+, just because while the season didn't end up how we wanted it, we ended up turning the page, which we needed to do for many, many years. And again, I know we were winning, we were making the playoffs, but what needed to happen has happened. And the fan base is excited. The team is ready to move forward. So I'm going to go with C+ overall for this season.
This is by far the best, worst season I've ever seen in the history of the Orlando Magic. What grade do you give a student for like a not complete? Is there a non-complete grade? Like if I turn in a sheet of paper that has like maybe 2 or 3 answers out of 10, I mean, but that would obviously still be an F, right? So let's give it an F. Yeah, give it an F. Not complete. And not really because there was an effort. There was effort from beginning to end. And you mentioned it, the expectation was to make the playoffs. The Magic started off really, really good, to the point that, national media were apologizing that they ever doubted the Orlando Magic. Steve Clifford's been doing such an amazing job. And then injuries just started happening often. The Magic led the NBA with the most amount of injuries to their roster. It was bad. On average, and we discussed it a couple episodes ago, on average, the Magic were down 5 players a game. That's really rough. I think we led the NBA also in how many players we had in our roster this season.
Yeah.
It's intense, and everything really started going downhill the minute that we lost Markelle Fultz. But what that allowed is for players like Cole Anthony to kind of step in, and play. And for a rookie player to get the amount of minutes that he got, that is so valuable. That experience by itself, you can't ever take that away from Cole. And I remember in the beginning, it was rough. It was rough giving him the primary point guard job. It was really rough. But look at him now. Major game to end the season with 37 points. This is our rookie. So from that perspective, future wise, where we're at right now, between the growth of Chuma Okeke, Cole Anthony, RJ Hampton, in just a small couple of months that we got him, what we are able to see with Wendell Carter Jr., the fact that we have the 2 draft picks coming up. We still have another 2 draft picks coming out in 2023. We still have another 2 draft picks coming out in 2025. The Magic are in a really, really good position. So when we talk about, what grade you would give it, I'm going to say not complete, because we still need to figure out to see what that looks like. A lot of it has to do with luck. A lot of it, everything needs to align properly. But give credit to where credit is due. The front office, I don't want to hear any more slander. I did a majority of the slander. All right. But I've definitely, in my own words, how many times do we say that this front office are too patient? They're sitting on their ass. They're not doing anything. Everyone else is making moves and strategizing. And the way that they were able to put us in the position that they have without sacrificing anything, because this front office, knowing that their contract is coming up soon, they could have easily traded away future assets to accompany Evan Fournier, Nikola Vucevic, and Aaron Gordon to keep fighting for, that playoff run. They didn't do that. They could have easily went and signed Isaiah Thomas to fill that point guard role. They didn't do that. All right. They made the move that was necessary. They reflected, looked at themselves and said, even if these teams are healthy, are they going to win us a championship? And once they were able to get to that realization, they made drastic moves. And we're in the position where we're at because of it.
Yeah, I think they deserve a ton of credit. I mean, like I said before, personally myself, I've been saying it for years. I'm like, this team needs to shake it up. They need to do something different. And you're right. We said it for many, many years. Like, this team does not make moves. They've had the same core for the longest time. Every trade deadline, we were hoping to hear the names that were traded this trade deadline, mentioned in trade rumors at the very least. Besides AG, not really much happened. But again, this year, they really surprised us. They pulled the right moves. And looking back at it now, man, like, it's not one of the questions that we asked here in the season review, but those trades look really good right now. And again, I said at the time when they went down, wait, let's let it play out. I have faith in what they've done, not only from a player's perspective, but from a draft pick, financial freedom that we got in those trades. And look at them now, man. They're looking really, really good. So I know Jeff Wiltham did an interview yesterday before the game, and he said it. If you're a Magic fan, this is the most exciting that you should be about this team going forward. And honestly, it feels that way. Not only myself, but people that I know that are Magic fans on Twitter, on Instagram, at the arena when I went to the last game. You can sense that people are excited. There's a breath of fresh air in this team right now that you haven't seen before. Even when we made the playoffs, we kind of knew that, hey, first round, we knew that. Even last year, we knew first round. Now it's like, hey, we may not make the playoffs next year, but the ceiling of this team is really, really high right now.
Yeah, you can also tell with the season ticket prices. So again, I would give the overall season an F because I'm going based off my expectations from the beginning of the season. But if we were to grade the moves from the front office, A+, man. I think that just from that front office perspective, was there another front office that did better than the Orlando Magic? The more I take a look at that Chicago Bulls deal, the more I'm so confused with who decided that was a great idea from the Bulls front office to make the moves that they did. Who had the great idea from the Denver's front office to pull the plug and go along with that? I honestly thought that there was no way after the steal that we did with Philadelphia and the Markelle Fultz, there's no way that we were going to be able to fleece another team, and we did it back to back in the same trade deadline.
Yeah, I think it just those teams unfortunately are on that level where you're saying about the Magic being kind of on an urgency level of, hey, we got to make a move, we got to get to the next level.
And you take advantage of that.
Yeah, the Bulls haven't really made the playoffs and really competed in a long time. I mean, the Derrick Rose days is what comes to mind for me. So I mean, on paper, it looks nice. Nikola Vucevic, you got Levine. Like, hey, it makes sense. We're going to win. Didn't make the playoffs. Aaron Gordon in Denver, they've been winning. Congratulations. I mean, they look great. But Aaron Gordon individually looks like trash. I'm sorry, but it's true. He looks like trash out there. He does. Look at the stats. You got a rookie in RJ Hampton outplaying him in every single category.
Yeah, but to be fair, Denver they didn't bring Aaron Gordon in to drop 25, 30 points a game. They brought him in to be able to be the elite defender that he is, to be the role player that he wasn't given in Orlando. You know, they put him in a position to be surrounded with elite players like Jamal Murray, Jokic, MPJ, and he's got that. I mean, without Jamal Murray, but they have a chance, man. You have a player that is able to guard the Giannis of LeBrons, and good for them. Good for them. We're happy. We're happy with RJ.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But I mean, again, answering to your question, it baffles me again. The guys that we got back in that trade, and again, hopefully things will continue to work out for us. But right now, we got steals on both of those trades.
Yeah, for sure. Now, what would you say is your favorite moment from this season?
Oh, it's got to be easy, man. It's got to be Cole Anthony, those two game winners, right? Like, it's just the way that he did it, the fashion in which he did it. That's what comes to mind. Like, when I think of positive moments this past season, like, what comes to mind first? Cole Anthony beating the Timberwolves on an unexpected, crazy rebound that just landed on his hands and chucking up a three and all net. And then against Memphis, they called the play for him, and to have a 6'10" guy defending you and to still hit that shot, man, it just shows a lot of promise in what he can do. But it was the two probably most fun moments, even on social media, for Magic fans. Like, we were going crazy when those two happened, even though we wanted to lose the game. The game against Memphis, we wanted to lose it. Even then, it felt like, hey, we got to celebrate this moment.
Yeah, when I take a look at favorite moment, I kind of think back of the season, like which one kind of like gave me that feeling, that internal feeling that, you know, it either made me excited or, you know, kind of raised the hairs on my arm, stuff like that. And the next topic that we were going to talk about was the most disappointing moment. And for me, I think they both go hand in hand. So my favorite moment and the most disappointing moment would have to be when we traded Nikola Vucevic. Because the NBA trade deadline, when we were waiting, you know, because that was a day that you and I both had off. We said that we were gonna just make sure that we're available to kind of see everything go down, because we had a feeling that something major was going to happen. Trading Nikola Vucevic was not anywhere did I see that happening. I swore up and down that he was not going to be moved. And the fact that he was moved, it was initial shock. And I was really disappointed because I didn't want him to leave. I didn't want him to move. I was okay with Nikola Vucevic ending his career with the Orlando Magic, going to be that one player that played with us for, 20 years. Like, I expected Nikola Vucevic to live and die here in Orlando, right? But it was also my favorite moment because it started the trickle effect. Then it came Aaron Gordon getting moved, Evan Fournier, and then it turned into this new era of Orlando Magic basketball. And just thinking about that day of everything going down, man, there was so much adrenaline happening in that moment, in that time frame, that I would say, that moment was both my favorite moment and also the most disappointing.
No, I mean, yeah, that's true. And it's funny, when I was thinking of that question prior to us recording this afternoon, I thought about that. Like, that trade deadline was just, man, like, it was just insane. Again, what that day, as Magic fans, again, it was like what you've been hoping for so long was happening in front of you. You're like, man, like, you couldn't believe it. But then Vooch got traded, which, again, like you said, it was just completely out of left field. Like, nobody expected that. But again, yeah, for sure, that's one of the most memorable days as a Magic fan that I've had in a long time. But yeah, I completely agree with you. That was an exciting day for sure.
Yeah. And then who would you say is this year's team MVP?
Team MVP. We got to go with Vooch, even though he's no longer on the team. Vooch, man, the way that he brought it in and out every single night, he was playing like a legitimate all-star. He made that jump, man. He became an all-star in his own right. He deserved it. There was not a game that we went into it that I did not expect him to drop 20 and 10 easily every single night. And he did much more than that. It became 30 and 10. It became 40 and 15. Like, it was crazy. So Vooch, even though he's no longer with us, he was a part of our team this season. And that, to me, was our MVP.
Yeah, how do you not give it to Vooch? NBA All-Star, two-time NBA All-Star, second place runner-up in the NBA Skills Challenge. He was easily a fan favorite, and how could you not give it to him? Now, you said Nikola Vucevic. I said it. If we're not going to talk about those two, Nikola Vucevic at all, I guess the runner-up, I would have to give it to Chuma Okeke.
That's an interesting one.
Maybe like the second part of the season, I would give it to him. Just because he played for the most part, he was our best player on the floor. That second half of the season, and he played so well. And I would include that because we're next going to talk about the most surprising player. I would put him in that category also. I feel like we've seen so much from him and so much growth. We've seen growth from Cole Anthony. We've obviously seen growth from RJ Hampton. But if we're comparing Chuma Okeke's growth from the very beginning of the season, his game one with us, to how he ended the season, man, it's night and day. We literally got this shy, timid kid that was really, really nervous from, he missing a whole entire season of basketball and coming back from the injury. That would make anyone nervous. But, the way that he composed himself, the way that he plays, the effort that he played, all the positive feedback that he's gotten from all his teammates and coaching staff. Chuma Okeke has been probably my favorite player to watch this season. So if we're not adding Nikola Vucevic and I'm putting primarily the focus on the second half of the season, I'd give it to Chuma.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, comparing him from day one in the season to the final game of the season when unfortunately hurt his ankle, but in another way, we shut him down because he was impacting our tank. But no, in all reality though, like Chuma, again, it's a guy that we knew coming into the season was supposed to be a good player, a guy that could shoot the ball a little bit. But he exceeded all my expectations for sure as the season went along, especially. So yeah, but another guy for me personally that surprised me a ton, especially in the second half of the season once we acquired him, was RJ Hampton. I mean, I don't know if you got a chance to listen to the podcast that he did with the Magic crew. So he mentioned when he got traded, he got on the phone with Jeff Weltham and the rest of the guys, and they told him, "Welcome to Orlando. Be ready to play right away." And he was shocked because he had not been playing with Denver. He had not really played basketball since before the draft, like a lot of minutes. And for him to go from not playing basketball consistently, sitting on the bench, to now playing 20, 25, 30, 35 minutes a game, the way that he responded and how mature he looked just from week to week, he became more and more mature to a point where he just won NBA Rookie of the Month this past month. Like, it's impressive what he did and the way that he performed, especially as the season went along. But in the month of May, especially, 16 points a game, 7 rebounds, 5.6 assists. But better yet, he shot 43.5% from the field, from 3-point range, on almost 3 shots from behind the arc. So it's impressive the way that he played. I expected him to be good. I expected him to be athletic, be fast, but I did not expect him to put up the kind of numbers that he did. Even also a triple-double, almost missed it by 1 assist. Mm-hmm. But I mean, he was simply impressive. He got better every single game. So to me, that was a guy that surprised me the most.
Yeah, I can't believe I'm still so in shock that Denver let him go. He barely played 200 minutes in Denver. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he was given that opportunity to come here and play, and granted, the injuries and just the roster layout kind of just worked out that way in his favor. To see his individual growth, his ability to his level of basketball, man, because there was always questions about his shooting. They're even talking about it now. I can't remember who came out with the list, but someone came out with a list of their top 5 fastest players in the NBA. Left RJ Hampton out of it. RJ Hampton responded to it kind of with like a okay type of face. He's a player that matches perfectly with the roster that we have, from age to, you can tell that the players like him. He likes the players. He likes the team. He likes the environment. RJ Hampton is such an amazing pickup that, we're really going to start to see the fruits of it this offseason, this season coming up, because the way that he ended the season, the way that he was playing, it seemed as if every game, was a major opportunity for him to, beat his career high in points. And, he's not afraid, man. So he's definitely fun to watch. So I would agree with you.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's surreal to think about the fact that we have him and Cole Anthony as 2 rookies, and Jamal Kiki, all as rookies this year.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Wow. Now, on the flip side, who would you say is your most disappointing player of the season? Kind of already know where you're going to go with this. I already know your answer.
I think I'm going to surprise you, because I surprised myself. I'm trying to think. I'm like, who's that guy that I'm like really just let me down? And I got to go with Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon is a guy that, on a year like this one, in which Markelle went down, Vooch was playing amazing, so people were double teaming him. I felt like it was a great chance for him to say, "Hey, I'm gonna step up and be that guy that I'm supposed to be for this team for the longest time." Markelle's down, J.I. is down. We got guys getting hurt left and right. I'm gonna step up and be that guy. And unfortunately, he had a career low year for the Magic. If you look at his numbers with the Magic, he didn't step up, unfortunately. He had a really good game against the Nets that one time that he kind of blew up. Well, he always does that once a year. Like he puts up 40 points and whatever amounts of rebounds, and you're like, man, look at the skills this guy has. But unfortunately, it didn't end up in a good way either. He disappointed me also in the way that he approached the trade deadline. I think that trade request should have stayed in the locker room, should have stayed with the front office and just kind of kept it quiet. But again, it is what it is. But he's the one guy to me that I expected a lot more, especially in the way the season played out for the Magic.
Yeah. And you kind of, that he felt the exact same way. You can kind of tell within his post interviews that he had during his introductory press conference. He knew that the writing was on the wall, and he wanted to be out. So a lot of that has to do with it too. I think it was too much. I don't want to say too much pressure, because you don't really know, but How many times have we begged and asked for him to be that guy for us, and it kind of just never panned out. It felt as if every season we were convincing ourselves that, okay, this is the season. He's going to be the NBA All-Star. He's going to do it. He's going to do it, and he just never made that leap.
Yeah, I saw somebody on Twitter, a Denver fan, saying, "Man, just give this guy one off season shooting the ball and working on his shooting."
Yeah, I mean, we're waiting for the same thing, man, for so long.
Oof. Yeah. How about yours? So the AG was my guy. How about yours?
Yeah. So I'm going to go with Chase and Randall. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to go with, the typical. I know a lot of people are listening to this and, probably agree, disagree, whatever. Mo Bamba. And yeah, it's kind of unfair because we can easily say that, coach didn't give him a shot, or the injuries, COVID, all the different variables. But I just feel like it's every season we're kind of waiting and hoping and expecting a rise from him. And I'm victim to the same thing that everyone else has had, is putting this high expectation on Mo Bamba. And it's starting to get to a point that the realization is it's, if it happens, it should be a bonus. If it doesn't happen, then, we've lowered our expectations already. Now, granted, he ended the season pretty well. He's playing really, really good basketball. So, we're hoping that can kind of translate into the offseason and then, next season coming up. But it would be interesting to kind of see how this shakes out, because with Nikola Vucevic being traded, you expected Mo Bamba to immediately kind of step in and kind of take advantage of the playing time, because the issue at first was he wasn't getting any playing time. And then the all-star player that you were playing behind is no longer on your roster, and you expect for him to fill that void and kind of show out and say, hey, now that he's out of the way, I don't have to worry about it anymore. I'm your guy. And then we see, how Wendell Carter was able to impact the game and his level of play, and how he's able to play really tough and man basketball. And, I just feel like there's still a lot of missing components from Mo Bamba that I really, really wish we were able to see more things from him on a consistent basis, and we just still haven't seen it. So I don't know. I'm hoping that it gets better fast.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned him, because he was second on my list, and I was debating AG, Mo Bamba. Who do I go with? Ultimately, I chose to go with AG, but I agree with you. I think that he showed a lot of great signs. Let's not also ignore that towards the end of the season, especially in the month of April and May. Like, he finally started getting more minutes. He looked more confident. Unfortunately, his three-point shot stopped falling, but even then, he started putting up big numbers. He was rebounding the ball better and better. He got I think it was 3 games in a row where he grabbed 15 rebounds or better. Like, that for Mo Bamba is really impressive. He set a new career high in points. He had a few games where he blocked 4 shots. So we saw the potential. Now, like I said a couple of weeks ago, the motor, he has to work on that big time. And Cole Anthony, last night after the game, mentioned Mo Bamba has no choice. He's going to be in the gym all off season with Cole Anthony. He doesn't have a choice. And I love that. I'm like, that's exactly what he needs. He needs a guy to push him and tell him, hey, not only that, but think about this. It's a contract year for Mo Bamba. He needs to show us, hey, are you that guy that we can rely on? Or do we go with Wendell Carter or neither? What do we do going forward? We got to figure this out. But this is a really, really important 3 to 4 months for Mo Bamba here before training camp, where he has to say, I got to show this team what we got. And not only that, he has a chance to win the starting position. If he has a really good summer and he shows out, he could be the starter next season. I mean, imagine him and J.I. That was a dream that we all wanted, right? Like, those 2 lengthy guys protecting the rim. He has that chance. It's all on him right now.
Yeah, who knows how this draft ends up panning out. What if the Magic draft Mobley?
Stop it.
Then what if? Stop it. I mean, what if? That's a very, very real possibility. Very, very, very real. It could happen. It really can.
Stop it. Positive thinking.
And it could. And what's crazy is that it could happen by choice. Imagine the Orlando Magic have the 2nd pick in the NBA draft, and they decide to draft Evan Mobley. That could happen. One, because Evan Mobley is that good and deserves your respect. Second, because the gap between Evan Mobley and Mo Bamba is so wide that it can happen. Do I want it to happen? No, I agree with you. Let's go out there and let's draft Kate Cunningham. Let's go ahead and do that. It's a great idea. But if it doesn't happen, if Jalen Green doesn't happen, you can't pass up. The Magic are in no position not to draft best player available. And it couldn't happen that he is that best player available. And if that happens, then somebody's going to be the odd man out.
Yeah, for sure. And again, I've said it before. I don't mind, honestly, on a serious note, I don't mind us picking him if we have no choice. Even at second, like I don't mind picking him. The thing is, another skinny guy that needs to put on muscle, that needs 2 to 3 years to fully build. Like I know how this team does things. And unfortunately, I just don't want to wait for that. Like give me a guy that can just get buckets. We've needed that. Like a Cole Anthony again. Like we need guys like that can come in and just impact the game while being skinny.
While being skinny. I mean, with that being said, if you had to put on a scale 1 to 10, how excited are you for this offseason?
I mean, it's 1 to 10, right? Because I was going to say 15, 20, 25. Like it's beyond 1 to 10 for me because, again, it's the first offseason where we enter with an unknown. Like, hey, we know what the team may look like, but we also don't. Like, we are not even thinking of the fact that we can make some pretty decent trades here in the draft. Again, we have the Bulls pick. We have the 33rd pick. We have some vets that we could package together with those picks. We don't know. So all those unknowns make it exciting, but also the fact that we are tied with the best odds for the first pick. So there's just so much excitement that comes with that. And like you mentioned before, season ticket prices have gone up, and they will continue to go up if we get the first or second pick in the draft. They will go up if we're able to trade maybe the Bulls pick or whatever for a vet that has some name recognition. So who knows? But I think as a Magic fan, you'd be lying to yourself if this is not the most excited you've been in years entering the offseason.
Yeah, it's going to be wild. 1 to 10 is obviously above that 10 because there's so much within the Magic control, so much within our power. Just the fact that thinking, the next Orlando Magic game that is played, official game that is played, Jonathan Isaac will be back on the court.
True.
Right? Positive thinking, making sure there's no setbacks or anything like that. But the fact that that's a real possibility, the fact that you have an offseason where Cole Anthony is going to get better, Markelle Fultz is going to get healthier, RJ Hampton is excited about the new season. I hope that Mo Bamba is not just in the gym with Cole Anthony, but he's in the gym with Wendell Carter Jr. and they're battling it out, all offseason long. What was great to hear is the fact that Cole Anthony said that he was going to stick around in Orlando to make sure that he's prepared for this upcoming season. So he was going to take 2 weeks off for vacation and is back into the gym. What was interesting is you had brought up the article to me from The Athletic that Coach Clifford didn't include a off-season or end of the season
message.
End of the season message, which I thought was interesting that he wouldn't do it because there has been questions or concerns, not from the media, but more from the fan base, on whether or not Coach Clifford is the right coach for this team. And I think that from a front office perspective, if you're going to do a coach switch, now would be the time to do it. Now that you have the young roster that isn't exposed to Clifford as much, now would be the time to do it. So who knows if that's in the card? Who knows if that's something that they even want to do? I'm okay with keeping Coach Cliff. I like Coach Cliff. I know that there's a lot of things being said out there that people aren't happy with, but that's going to be with any coach. You bring in any coach that's in that chair, you're going to say the same thing about that coach. No one's perfect. You're going to have the pros and the cons. But it's just interesting to think that, there might be a possibility, whether it's a small possibility or bigger. And, there's a chance that there might be a change there. Who knows?
Yeah, and I think again that adds to the level of excitement, right? As a Magic fan, because even that could change. Again, there's not a set in stone answer here where we know he'll be back. If he had 2 years left in his contract, I would say yeah, he is definitely coming back. But with 1 year left, I think there's a lot of unknowns out there. I fully expect the front office to get an extension for sure this offseason.
100%.
Will Coach Clifford get one for another 4 years?
But you know what I think?
Hey.
I think that if Coach Clifford isn't back, it would be a mutual agreement. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that the front office would let him go. I think if it becomes too much, because you take a look at, Coach Clifford is a really good coach, an experienced coach. Does he want to go through a rebuild with a bunch of young players? He was brought in to elevate the team of the Nikola Vucevic, Aaron Gordon, Jonathan Isaac, and he really didn't have a fair crack at it because he has dealt with the injuries since he got here. But who knows? I mean, if you're him, would you really want to stick it out?
That's the thing. You need some clear vision from the front office to kind of tell you what that path looks like next season and beyond. I don't know. Again, I don't mind him being around. I just think there's a lot going on also besides the players, besides the draft, besides all that. There's a lot to be figured out in the front office and also in the coaching staff, what we do, the medical staff. I know somebody posted on Twitter recently that the Magic were hiring a new head of, I forgot the title of the position, but it was the medical staff. It's being looked at after a crazy season that we had so many injuries. So again, it's not only the draft. It goes so much beyond the whole core of this team that could change over the summer. And we haven't talked about maybe a rebrand. We haven't talked about the new jerseys that are coming in. I know the orange ones are done. The blue ones definitely are done. So what's coming in with that as well? That's going to be exciting over the next few months.
I thought I read early on in the season that they were going to do one more orange. Or was this the season that they were going to end the orange?
So I'm sorry, I meant the current version of the orange was done, but I think there is one more year of doing orange.
I think it's one more too.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot to look forward to, man. It's exciting.
Yeah, it's interesting. You brought up a really good point with the branding. I mean, the branding can be so many different things. We came to the conclusion that they were going to end the statement uniforms because they've been on sale now for what was it, the buy two for $100 for almost the last 2 months.
Yep.
So it seems as if they're going on a fire sale with those, and then there'll be some statement jerseys to replace them with. I think their earned jerseys were a hit, so I kind of hope that they kind of move that direction next season. And then the campaign that they had, Magic Together, I thought that was interesting because the Magic couldn't be together just due to injuries, so that kind of jinxed that. And then half of the team was also traded away. So, who knows? I think that's the fun part with kind of figuring it all out in the beginning of the season. It's brand new everything. So we'll see.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's a brand new era too, right? You have these young guys leading the way now. I think if you've ever thought about rebranding, I think it's a perfect offseason to do it because again, once that, whatever it is, October, November comes around and you're mentioning the starting lineup and you got J.I. out there. Hopefully Markelle may be ready by then. Let's see how that goes. And then a top pick, hopefully, in there too. Man, I know for a fact Amway is going to be fun to be at that night, and hopefully 100% capacity. So that's going to be an exciting night for sure.
Yeah, man, because the whole game winner thing when there's like barely, anyone there to celebrate with you is kind of it takes away from the excitement a little bit. Not that it did because everyone's so hyped about it, but the fan base is really a big part of it.
For sure.
Yeah. So, all right, Al, final thoughts.
Final thoughts, man. It's going to be a long summer. I just hope we keep getting some bits and pieces of news from the Magic as the things go along, whether it's J.I. updates or Markelle, because otherwise, man, it's going to be a long summer. You said it. 36 days till the lottery, about 2 months and a half till the draft. But really, the good thing is that after that, we hit it kind of fast pace. We get free agency right after, maybe summer league right after that. So a lot to look forward to as Magic fans, but be excited. I know, be positive. I know I'm trying to stay away from Tankathon and playing with the simulator. Like, let that play out on June 22nd. I'm not going to go crazy over that. And once again, Jalen Green, Kate Cunningham, Welcome to Orlando. One of you guys.
Or Mobley.
Nope.
Don't be disrespectful, Al. Or Mobley. Jeff Wellman was during one of the interviews during the games. It was before the game. He had mentioned that Jonathan Isaac, Markelle Fultz, they were in the midpoint of their rehab. So they said that as far as they know, there hasn't been any setbacks or anything. They never put a deadline of when they'll be coming back. But the fact that they're in the gym, they're working on their rehab. So it's good to hear that they're doing all right. And he had mentioned that since he's gotten to Orlando, he's never been more excited. And, he's just mimicking the fan base feelings right now. So we're excited, man. So many different things can happen. There's so many different avenues. If the Magic make it to the top 5, if they don't make the top 5, are they looking to move? Are they looking to trade? Who are they willing to move? Who are they willing to trade? So many different questions, so many answers that we're waiting for. And it's going to be exciting to find out.
For sure. I just can't wait for this days to fly by.
Yeah, man. It feels like it's still so long. May 25th, the coin flip. I feel like that's like crazy time away. The lottery, the month after the draft, the month after that, then we got training camp, then we got free agency, and then we have everything happening. It's gonna be nuts. It's gonna be nuts.
But hey, it's a good time to be a Magic fan. That's for sure. I mean, it's again, like I said before, it's the first time in a while that I've entered an offseason. So excited for this team and the direction of where we're going.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we'll see what happens. On that note, appreciate you guys listening. It's a wrap. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the OZone Podcast, the voice of Magic fans. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the OZone Pod. And remember to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on all your favorite podcast listening platforms.